Could I have approval of the agenda?
So move, Mr. President.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the agenda be approved. All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. Opposed is the same. It's unanimous. We now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right, invocation.
Yeah. I'm waiting on her to get seated before I do the prayer. Hey, Miss Ned. Reverend Smith, would you lead us into invocation, please?
Let us pray. Dear God, we thank you again for the blessings that you have bestowed upon us. And as we come together tonight for our monthly school board meeting, we pray, oh God, that you will be in the midst of us, guiding our minds and our thoughts, and Heavenly Father, allowing us to do the business of the district and do it, Heavenly Father, decently and in order. And Heavenly Father, respecting each other's opinion, that we will go away on one accord. We thank you, God, for your Son, Jesus, and all that he is in our lives. In Jesus' name, we do declare and decree it to be so. Forever we pray. Amen.
Amen. We will now have our public hearing for the budget, which will go from 5:30 till 6 o'clock. Wes?
Chairman McNeil, members of the board, Dr. McCord, we're going to go through the PowerPoint for the budget document. I think this gives a good overall summary of the 1920 budget. And as you can see, this is, of course, public hearing as well as first reading, which will be later this evening. Budget priorities: increase program awareness for literacy, attendance, and mentorship, provide a safe and conducive learning environment throughout the district, support technology initiatives for student learning, support academics through STEAM at each school, and provide living wage increase for all employees. Look at what's included in the budget in terms of employees. Our first-year teachers are going to have a starting salary of $36,000. Of course, that's a significant increase over last year, that being $33,000. So that increase can range for teachers anywhere from 4 to 9%, depending on what their prior salary was. Average increase for teachers will be about 6 3/4%. Some obviously more, some less. A salary increase of 4% for all other staff. Step increase for all employees. In regards to retirees, classroom teachers paid at bachelor's in 25 years. All other positions in terms of retirees will be paid at 14 years of experience. Look at staffing. That's a huge part of the budget document. It's roughly 85% of the cost in general fund. And the staffing is based on district staffing standards. All schools will have a principal and an assistant principal. Student-teacher ratios, when we look at pre-K and kindergarten, will range between 18 to 20 to 1, grades first and second, 20 to 21 to 1, and grades 3rd through 5th, 22 to 26 to 1, grades 6 through 8, 24 to 28 to 1, and grades 9 through 12, 25 to 30 to 1. And of course, our standards in terms of staffing classrooms are at a much lower ratio than the state standards. State standards are certainly higher. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you're saying 20 to 21 to 1, that means one teacher?
One teacher for 20 to 21 students, that's correct. And so I think this is based on what we've, based on our estimates in terms of students at each grade level. That's what the staffing will be in the range of.
Got a state standard?
A state standard is considerably higher than that. So grades,
High school?
high school would be 35 to 1.
High school is higher. We have, and I think we presented this back a couple months ago. We, in the district, we have a lower than state recommended for each category. And we do that so that we can try to cap off class sizes. You'll hear some say classes are crowded, but in actuality, our classes are below state averages.
Okay. We look at revenues. Ad valorem taxes, $7,530,000. We've got a provision for use of fund balance, $90,000. Penalty and interest, $142,000. Revenue in lieu of taxes, $2,650,000. Look at state revenues. We have state shared revenues, $4,553,000. Fringe and salary reimbursements, $8,254,300. EFA, $10,788,802. Retirement credit, $435,000. And looking at our federal revenue, we get reimbursement of indirect costs for the federal program, so that comes back into general fund. Total revenues, $34,818,102. Look at our expenditures projected. Salaries, $20,467,213. Benefits, $9,681,487. Purchase services, $2,577,531. Supplies and materials, $1,963,905. Insurance, $212,966. And transfers, that's the food service for benefits, $215,000. So total projected expenditures balanced, $34,818,102. We look at our expenditures by location. The pre-K-8, our expenditures are $20,078,101. High school and vocational, $7,916,507. And then all our other locations, $6,823,494. Total expenditures, $34,818,102. And that was a very quick overview of the budget. When we look at the process, what we've got left, of course, tonight, this session is the public hearing, and this is an opportunity for the public to make inquiry of the district regarding the proposed budget. Later this evening, you'll have opportunity to adopt the proposed budget on first reading, and then next Monday, second and final reading. That'll be June 10th. So I don't know if there's any other questions. I think certainly this would be the time to entertain those. So.
I have a question. I'm not sure if this is the right time to ask this question or not, but I'm going to ask it and we can address it. In the past, when we were on the school, I've been on the school board, we always brought principals in They came in and gave us their dream wish list, that they had this, this, and this, and we talked about the staffing with them. We haven't done that, and that's okay.
Right.
I understand that. But what I want to make sure of, did we address all principals? Did we address all divisions about their staffing needs? You're saying we're addressing staffing back on 3 slides back, the money in the budget, but did we address everything and say what our needs are in each division, each staff, procedures? I'm sure, did we address that, asking, do we need any more people and what kind of people we need, that kind of stuff? Did we do that?
We did. So I believe back in March, we sent out, or end of February, we sent out to each principal and division head a requested budget for 2019-2020. And so those requests were taken into consideration in completing this budget.
And also the staff listing as well. So that was an integral part of our meetings, were addressing the staff at every location, schools and other locations.
So we did address every location. It didn't matter if it was
Yes, sir.
cafeteria. We found out if they thought they had enough people, if they didn't have enough people. We addressed that, and we tried to find out what they needed to make it go forward, and we have addressed that.
Yes.
As far as good as we can. I know we can't suit we can't fit everything, but I mean, we've done as good as we possibly can with that.
I'll say we've done as good as we possibly can. Now, to be specific about, when you mentioned cafeteria,
Well, no, I'll give you that for example. It doesn't,
Okay.
I just want to make sure, I know that we handle the teachers, I know what we're here, but I want to make sure that everybody else got addressed too. Do you need 2 more bus drivers? Do you need 3 more cafeteria staff? Do you need whatever? And just say, okay, we addressed that, and we're going to do the best we can. We realize that you might need another person. But
Right.
we can't do it right now, but we're going to address that at some point in time.
during the staffing meetings with the principals, it was addressed by both Mr. West Park and Ms. Kakila Robinson. And so those conversations were held.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everything was addressed as far as the staff
It
was
was,
concerned, and we
yes.
fulfilled what we can do.
Yes.
Okay. Guess I was the only one that had a question.
Okay. Very good.
Can you open it up for public comments?
Yes. We can open it up now for public comments. If there's anyone in the audience who have or would have any type question concerning the budget, now would be a good time for you to address Mr. Park, myself, the board as a whole, and the superintendent. Still got 15 minutes.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Park.
We still have to,
I think everybody out there works for us.
yeah, but we have to give them that 5:30 to 6 o'clock time.
So what do we do, take a break till 6?
We just kind of have to
Take a
wait.
break.
My history can't take a break. It's got to sit and wait. Can't take a break. Have to sit.
Someone offered a song.
If it looks like we're lost, we're not. This period goes from 5:30 till 6, and we have to go to 6.
Were we able to do anything for us, like social services, work for us getting something approved for the budget for that?
I'm sorry?
As far as like a social worker or something, were we able to get anything?
In Title I funds.
Yeah, Title I.
That is something that's still on the table.
Still on the table.
For, and that comes from the request by the principals and how they make their plans to spend the Title I monies. I think we also, and don't make me out to be wrong, but I think we also have conversations started recently about a change of positions to possibly include a social worker. So that's still in the makings.
Are we permitted to ask questions?
As long as it's pertaining to the budget.
Dr. McCord, if I'm putting you on the spot, please tell me. But since there's no one asking any questions, under the budget priorities, would it be an idea maybe to kind of address how we're going to do some of this stuff that we're looking at here? Or is there some ideas behind some things that we might be going to do, like we say, increase program awareness or literacy of attendance and mentorship? Is there some plan?
We can talk about that, yes. To increase program awareness for literacy, we have begun conversations with principals and our E3 staff, and we will unveil a comprehensive plan on what we are doing to increase literacy across the district. Actually, tonight, you'll hear with the presentation from Dr. Harris and Tamadiz, some of the things that will be coming for the district. As it relates to attendance and mentorship, we have to, and you've heard me mention before, we have to do a better job of getting the public informed about the importance of kids attending school. And not just kids, but adults as well. We have to make sure that we do a better job, and I think the way we do that is by bringing a level of awareness that hasn't existed. So that'll be poster campaigns, there'll be incentive-based campaigns, there'll be school-related campaigns, all focused on increasing attendance, daily attendance. One, for starter, would be an award that's given, or recognition that's given to a student for perfect attendance. We didn't have anyone in the district receive the Perfect Attendance Award. 12 years perfect attendance is usually something that's honored by the state. We had no one, and not saying that that's a small feat, but we want to begin as early as pre-K informing parents that it is important that kids come to school every day possible. We don't want them sick, but we do want them in school. There's a correlation, and I can bring you studies to show where, and I don't have to because I'm sure you realize if they're not in school, then it decreases the chances of us getting them properly educated. And so test scores are reflected or impacted by students not being in school. We, of course, are affected financially as it relates to how we're funded by students not being in school. And I can go on, but we have to find out what the root causes are for students not attending and get them here. And then mentorship. One of the things that I believe we can do a better job of is making sure we have activities for students that go beyond the school walls. Getting as many folks as we can in the community, whether it be business community or ecumenical partnership community. We have to get more mentor programs started in our schools. And so we'll focus on that. Now the cost. How is it going to cost us? We'll do as minimal cost as possible, but there are going to be some things that will require us cost. So for mentors, we would like to have a mentoring program that's district-wide. We'll start with the schools, but then we'd like to do something district-wide. There'll be a cost associated with something like that. Now, I didn't know if you had anything else specifically.
You can address all the priorities if you like.
Oh, okay. You provide a safe and conducive learning environment. Of course, you know, we have already begun with our safety awareness. We have begun and completed the camera installation at 3 of our schools. I believe the high school, McCall, and Clio. Those schools have camera systems up, installed, and ready and functioning. Will continue throughout the summer months. Also, we have card swipe. Well, I don't have my ID, but we have a card swipe system that will allow access in the buildings by authorized personnel only. So we'll continue to get those items pushed through, as well as some of the summer projects that we have promised the community by way of the bond referendum, restroom renovations. We have work that we're hoping to get started right away at BIS so that we can provide safe and conducive learning environments. Technology initiatives for student learning will complete our one-to-one initiative for grades 6 through 12. We began last year in September. I think it was October when we actually unveiled one-to-one technology devices for students in grades 6 through 8. We came back in January and provided devices for students in grades 9 through 11. We have said that we would continue with that so that we get teachers the professional development they need, but also complete the cycle with students in grades 6 through 12. And again, I'm just giving you some things that I think
That's what I'm looking for,
support
give them an
that.
idea of what we're gonna do with this money.
Right.
Just what you got.
Academics, we want STEM and STEAM programs in each of our schools. Of course, we have Blenheim School of Discovery, but we want STEM and STEAM programs in each of our schools, and we've talked about that, and costs associated with that will definitely be dedicated towards getting staff professionally trained so that they can incorporate the lessons in their classrooms. As you know, if we can increase higher order thinking skills, critical thinking skills, collaborative workmanship in students, then we have a chance of moving them academically a lot faster than we have in the past. And then the good news, or great news for all employees, is we have included a 4% increase in salary for all employees. The state provided monies for teachers only. With the board's permission and approval, we have done so for all employees, as well as the regular step increase. And so I think that's great news for all employees, one that I'm sure they will appreciate. Now, are we where we would like to be as it relates to having comparable salaries across the state? No, we're not. Is this going to give us an opportunity to leap past other districts? Maybe, maybe not. But what it does say and suggest to our employees is that we care enough about them that we are making an effort to do some things differently with the budget and the monies that we do have, in hopes of continuing this trend down the road. And again, that's for all employees as opposed to a select group of employees.
What's the difference between the teacher's starting salary last year and this year?
$3,000.
$3,000 more?
Yes, sir. And actually, let me take that back, it's $4,000. I think we give a local supplement of $1,000, which makes it $33,000, and that's for years 0 through 3. But because of the new legislation that's passed, moving that wage up to $36,000, whereas it would normally be $4,000, for us, we would realize it at $3,000.
And the fund balance versus last year and this year, we're at $90,000 now in fund balance?
That's what we're...
No, the fund balance is much more than that.
Yeah, that's why I'm
And
at.
that's, the 90,000 is what we anticipate using out of
Okay,
fund
I saw the
balance for the
Okay,
current.
okay.
Yeah.
Possibly having to use.
Possibly.
What's the fund balance?
We're about $3,400,000
Okay, we
in
ain't
general
got-
fund,
that's-
yeah.
Which is-
I saw the 90,000.
Okay.
Okay, I just want to make sure that's where we was at.
We're at about 10%, a little bit better than 10%.
Little better, yes.
Which of course, as you know,
Probably 11.
we're only required to have about 8%. But we like to have 11, 12 so that it improves our credit rating
Correct.
for borrowing capacity.
And very fortunate, the last bond referendum, we did get an upgrade, and that saved us $400,000 or $500,000 over the term of the bond issue, just by getting that.
So having a
that
good
bump.
Mm-hmm. credit rating definitely helps.
So last year, our fund balance was below.
It was about 3.3 last year, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yes, sir.
So we've been able to do a lot with the monies that we have. I think when I say we've been able to do a lot, of course, we wish we had more. And that again goes back to one of the first priorities, and that is having students in school every day so that we can raise our ADM.
I thank you very much for that. That's basically what I wanted. Like I said, just to give everybody an idea. We lay a budget out each year, but we don't really spell out exactly what we do. And we say we give this person a raise, we're going to increase, as we see it here, awareness for literacy. But exactly what does that mean to some people? I may be the only one that does not understand it sometimes, but I don't understand it sometimes. So I'm glad to hear what we're actually doing.
And that's a great point. I think also in mentioning that when we talk about what we are doing in the school district, a lot of it goes towards increasing the capacity level of the staff. And so you'll hear at some point throughout the course of the year about professional developments that take place and how they're benefiting not only teachers, but students as well.
Tell them again, they got a question.
Is there anyone else have anything they would like to say?
I think most of these folks have been on.
Yeah.
Folks all just came in.
Everybody's looking. For those of you that just come in, we're in the process of going through our budget. If there's any questions, we have from 5:30 to 6. If you have any questions or any comments about the budget or what you've heard about the budget, now would be a good time for you to, if you would have any comments, now would be the time. We actually have about 3 minutes before this session is over.
I guess I'll say it now, or I'm gonna say it later. So I'll take this 3 minutes to tell you that I still have a concern with the retiree portion of the budget. I feel like all our retirees should be paid equally on their degrees, as well as any other classified whatever. I think that we could well do this. Number one, I was led to believe last year that this would happen. I know you weren't here, Dr. McCord.
Well, thank you for acknowledging that. I get blamed for everything else.
I won't blame you.
Thank you.
That this would happen. Second, we saved a substantial amount of money this year. I thought it was very, very good that we could save $170-something thousand with the extra expenses that we had this past year. I mean, we had some extra expenses that were very, very expensive, probably $500,000 worth if you look at lawyer fees, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I won't go into them, you know them. If we can save 178 with those types of fees, I think we can gamble with what little bit of money it would take, less than 100,000, I think.
It's about 250. Okay.
It's 250.
I'm sure all of them have left us yet either. I think you're going to still see some more retirees leaving. The retiree numbers are going to dwindle right on down. And anyway, I think we could gamble with treating these people equally.
You only used 2 minutes, Mackie, so I'll take your 1 minute if you don't mind.
Okay?
I think that's something that we need to look at. If not for this year, I think it needs to be something that's prioritized for this coming year. And I think if we are more open and candid about how we're doing our budget from now on, I think we can keep people here. I think it's important for the community to know exactly what we're doing through the entire budget process for as much as they can know. And I think now is a good time to start that. So if something was supposed to be done this year, based on what was said last year, and it didn't happen for whatever reason, I think now is a good time to start to make sure it happens this coming year, 2021, I would assume. That would be that year. And I think now is a good time to start that process.
If I can, just to offer this as something to consider, and I do agree with all that's been said. However, I would be remiss if I did not state that each year costs continue to rise for the district, whether it be insurance, or whether it be supplies, but all costs go up. So we did a great job, I think, of using our monies wisely so that we are able to realize savings in areas that probably were not done so in the past. However, we have to be mindful of the fact that each year costs will continue to rise beyond our control. I say that to say this: we have a declining enrollment right now. Until we can get a sure handle on what our student base population will look like, our budget or the monies that we receive will continue to go down. When we make talks about what we can do down the road, we have to keep those things in mind, and I'm just pointing that out.
I agree. I totally agree. And I think we can, but as long as this community, the entire community is aware of what we're saying, that attendance has something to do with it, I think it works better. When we know that our kids need to be in school, it'll help with the budget. And not only does it help with the budget, that also helps the community as a whole, because there's more money that's coming into the community and less that would be coming out some of our folks' pockets if everybody was involved in this process. And I think that's what we need to do. And I know we're being open with everything that we do, but I don't think everybody's engaged enough to understand what we're trying to say. I think you hear us, but you don't hear us. That your child needs to be in school, that it makes a difference even in your taxes. That's what makes a difference. And I think until we start doing that, we're going to be struggling, and we don't need to struggle anymore. And with that being said, it's 6:03. We're going now to public session, approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chair, I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the May 6, 2019 regular meeting minutes.
Second.
It's been moved in seconds that the May 6, 2019 regular meeting minutes be approved. Any questions? You ready to vote? All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. Opposed is the same. It's unanimous. Points of celebration.
We have quite a few tonight that will be recognized, and so we'll just take our position up front. I'll have Ms. Anderson come up and assist us. But before we get started, we'd like to say congratulations to all of you that are here tonight receiving awards and certifications as well as acknowledgement.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members, Dr. McCord. I'm here this evening to present Harley Blue, who is a fourth grader at Blenheim Elementary Middle School. He has won the Character Trait of the Month for May, which is sharing and compassion. I want to tell you a little bit about Harley. Harley is a great student. He always represents himself in a respectable manner and is always respectful to others. He tries very hard in class and is a hard worker. When working in class, he's always ready to share his materials with others to get the job done. He is all about helping his fellow classmates and his teacher. He goes above and beyond to assist his teacher when needed. His thoughtfulness exceeds his teacher's expectations. Harley is a great role model for other students. At this time, we'll have Harley come up. And his family. At this time, I would like to present Jalea Wright, who is a seventh grader at Blenheim Elementary Middle School. She has won our character trait for citizenship for the month of May. I want to tell you a little bit about Jalea. Jalea is an amazing student. She is dependable and accountable. She is always on task and ready to assist anybody that needs help in her math class. She is always in the right place at the right time with the right material, doing the right thing. Jalea is a true definition of a student leader. She is a straight A student, and she takes pride in her academic success. Not only is she respectful to her teachers, but she is also to her classmates. She's always saying and doing positive things. Jalea is the type of student that all teachers long to have in their classrooms. At this time, if we would have Jalea and her parents come up.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Superintendent, board members, Marlboro County School District, and members of Marlboro County. Read a little article about Christopher Hyatt. Christopher Hyatt is set to make local history when he graduates from Marlboro County High School on Saturday, June the 8th. He will become the first student at Marlboro County High School to graduate with his high school diploma and an associate degree from NETC at the same time. Christopher first heard about a dual enrollment program at NETC when he was a 10th grader. But when he learned that he could earn an associate degree at the same time as his high school diploma, he knew he had to take advantage of the opportunity. He also knew that taking college courses early would help him when he was applying to Clemson and other four-year colleges, and understood that by having already earned an associate degree, he could really stand apart from other applicants. Christopher Thomas Hyatt is the son of Jeff and Christy Overstreet and Michael and Elise Hyatt. He is a 2019 graduate of Marlboro County High School, and he earned his associate's in science degree from NETC. Christopher planned to attend Clemson University in the fall and pursue a degree in computer science. I am so proud of this young man. I felt like me and his mother earned that degree out of all the phone calls and text messages that I received. Christopher and his guardian, please come up front.
Mr. Chairman, would you like to introduce the...
I wanted to, at this time, introduce to those that are not familiar with Dr. Kyle Wagner. He's the president of NETC, and he just wants to share a few things that have been happening over the past 18 months or so with Marlboro County School District as it relates to NETC and our partnership. And again, congratulations to Chris. I said earlier to him, he and his family will probably save somewhere in the neighborhood of $60,000 plus by way of his associate's degree. So a great round of applause.
Well, the first thing I'd like to say to the board is thank you. 3 years ago, when I stood up here and asked about this dream of having students walk across and have an associate's degree, could not have been possible without your leadership, so thank you very much. Also, I believe this is just the beginning under Dr. McCord's leadership. I see this multiplying hugely in the next 2 to 3 years. So I really appreciate your leadership on coming out on this limb and do this with us. I also would like to say thank you for believing when we said we could do it with you, and your mom and support that you had at your family was tremendous to make this happen. And I wanted to give just a few little numbers, and I'm going to give Dr. McCord an in-depth report on this here once we finish out spring and we finish that process. But this year, let me pull this up real quick. Now my phone's not going to work. But 281 students between fall and spring took dual enrollment courses at Marlboro High School. 181 students were unduplicated, which means they took either 2 classes in the fall or 2 classes in the spring, which is tremendous for the community. This is a game changer, and I want to say that you led the way as a trailblazer to make this happen for more students moving forward to the future. And I want to thank the board for their leadership on seeing this, and Dr. McCord for moving forward with even more students up here. I'd like to have about 50% of the high school class lined up here awarding their associate's degree before they graduate from high school. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. McCord, Chairman of the Board and board members and members of the community. I'm Kathy Shilane. I'm an RN. I have taught here for 21 years, and I teach the health science and the nurse aid training program. On May 6th, on May 20th, we had 6 students take the nurse aid training exam here. Our high school is an in-facility training center, and all 6 of those students passed both parts of the examination, which was the written examination as well as the practical skills. 5 of those 6 are here this evening. One has been very sick, and she was not able to come. These students have sat on my heartstrings for some time now. I've taught them most of all of their classes in the health science program. And I'd just like to tell you a little bit about each one. Kelsey Dew plans on attending Winthrop University. She wants to major in exercise science and hopes to become a physician assistant. Anaya Brown, she plans on attending the University of South Carolina Upstate. She's going to major in nursing, and she plans to become a nurse practitioner, and she would like to open up her own private practice. Dinah English is not here with us, but she plans on attending Clemson University in the fall, and she's going to major in early childhood education and plans to become an educational psychologist. Elizabeth Jenkins, she's known as Gracie, but I call her Elizabeth. She plans on attending NETC in the fall, and she wants to become an RN through their program and also hopes to become a physical therapist for children. Anaya King plans on attending Lander University and majoring in nursing. Her future plans are to become an RN in the military. And Brianda Lowry plans on attending the University of South Carolina in Columbia. She's going to major in nursing, achieve her BSN, and she is also enrolled right now in the Army Reserve, and she hopes to practice as an RN in the Army. And with that, without further ado, I welcome these wonderful students. Okay. Anaya Brown.
Chelsea Dew. Dinah English is not here.
She's the one that, yeah.
And Elizabeth Jenkins. And Nia King. And Brianda Lau. And each of these young ladies right now.
They've already gotten their license in the mail. In fact, Kelsey has hers with her tonight.
Which means they are
On the nurse,
ready
they're
to be
waiting.
employed.
That's exactly right. They can be.
Yeah, that's another good thing. Any medical situations right now, we're in good hands. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you so much.
It's a Marlboro County High School night, so y'all just be patient.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
They ours though.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Superintendent, board members, and community members. Tonight, we're here to recognize Mr. Dylan Cummins and Mr. Keishad Staggers for participating as the first two students in a program that's a collaboration with Harbor Freight and Big Picture Learning, which is a company out of California. These two students have been participating in the Harbor Freight Fellows Program, and they've been working with Mr. Dale Woods, the machine tool and welding instructor, to complete 120 hours in welding and machine tool as part of the Fellows Program. Once they complete their 120 hours, each student will receive a stipend of $1,000. Dylan has an interest in attending Florence Darlington Technical College to further his career in welding, in addition to possibly, he spoke to a gentleman today with IPP in Bennettsville to apply for a job there. That's one of our local manufacturers. In addition to Keishad, who's interested in applying for one of the apprenticeship programs, and he's actually had an opportunity through our Tallow, which is an online system that we use, our students use to apply for Highland Apprenticeship, and he's received a email back. So both students are looking forward to furthering their career in either machine tool or welding, and in addition to continuing to work with Mr. Woods to receive their trade hours. At this time, I would like to present to you Mr. Keishad Staggers and Dylan Cummings. And their parents. She asked me to, their parents can also step up to take the picture.
And if you don't mind, when the parents come up, can you just share with everyone how this came about? We want to thank you for your leadership. I think when Ms. Anderson brought the idea to you, jump right on and just talk a little bit about that, because I think these young men belong, a couple others, right?
Yes, there's one other student who's hopefully starting this.
Okay. So we're extremely proud of them because they jumped into action right away.
Well, Ms. Anderson actually was able to contact Mr. Charlie Plant, who is the brainchild of the program in California, who then in turn allowed us to actually start the program in April. So we just started, and within just a few weeks, we've had Dylan, who's completed about 64 hours of his 120-hour trade time, and Keshad, who's completed 94 hours of his trade time. So the plan was actually to begin right after spring break and have the students have completed 120 hours before graduation, so that as a gift for graduation and award to them, the students would receive their $1,000 stipend. So thanks to Ms. Anderson, Mr. Woods, and myself, we were able to get the program started and almost complete with just a few weeks' time. So thank you, Ms. Anderson.
Good afternoon, board, staff, and family members. I'm here to represent Mr. Chase Parrish. I'm the auto tech teacher here at the high school, and this program is actually a diesel program. And I guess everybody wonder, well, how do you transform from diesel from auto? But I guess with enough faith and hard work, he can make it happen. Mr. Parrish is enrolled in the Kate Auto 2 program at the high school, where he has currently a B average and continues to strive to improve. In doing so, he has earned himself an apprenticeship position offered by Apprenticeship Carolina in conjunction with the South Carolina Department of Education in the field of automotive technology. His training will be conducted at the bus shop in Bennettsville and will last a total of 2 years or 2,000 hours. With continued interest and motivation, Mr. Parrish is destined for success in the future of automotive technology.
We rolling tonight.
Keep going. We like this stuff.
This makes it worthwhile.
Good evening again. I'm going to read a letter from the South Carolina Governor School for the Arts and Humanity. Dear Mr. Farr, on behalf of our faculty and staff, I offer my sincere thanks and congratulations. The student listed below from Marlboro County High School been accepted into one of the programs at the South Carolina Governor School for the Arts and Humanity. Iceland Pegues Academy Summer Program and Music for Voice. Your school professional commitment to providing programming that develop the interests and ability of talented students is crucial. Through your leadership and work with your faculty and staff, you have created a learning environment that nurtures creativity and imagination. We are honored and privileged to work with your students, and we recognize and appreciate your commitments to sharing the information about educational opportunity, including the governor's school programs, with students in your school. Thanks so much for your part in making this experience possible for students. Iceland.
Well, she sings what she and her sister, Zoe, both, they have the passion for singing, and they've been gifted with the voice. And so when we hear about different auditions to enhance what they've already been equipped with from God, we try to pursue their passion. And one of them is with the governor's school. So she auditioned students from all across South Carolina audition, and they only select a select few. So we hope that, she did it last year, she got in last year. And then this summer she auditioned again and she got in again. So we hope that she progresses along and maybe one day we'll have a graduate from the governor's school with the residential program.
And no more pictures of the chief and the superintendent. Y'all sit on down.
Yeah, that was fun. Let's do that more often.
Well, I'd like to echo again what Mr. Drigger said, and to the parents, to the staff, all of those responsible, to the students. We like to say we can do this all night.
Yeah.
Many times I think we get in situations where we forget what the real purpose of what we do is for. And so anytime we have a chance to celebrate students, I want us to always be front and center with it. So again, thank you to all those involved and congratulations to the students.
I'd just like to say on behalf of the entire board, we do thank you, parents, for all that you do for your kids and making these things possible. Without you, it wouldn't be possible. I know when we first started this year with the board, one of the biggest things I always wanted, and I still do, is to make sure that we can show everybody that this is one of the best counties that you can be in, that we have some of the best kids in the county and in this state. But until we start showcasing, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but letting others know just who we are and just how good we are, we'll always be considered second to everybody else, and we're not. None of our kids are second to anyone. And that's been proven tonight. It's been proven over the past few months, and it's been proven through the past few years just how good we are, just how bright our kids are. And we have to keep doing it. We can't be ashamed to let somebody know how good we are. So if you get a chance, these kids that you've seen tonight, tell them how much you appreciate what they're doing, because they actually make you look better. Sometimes we worry about how we do, but they make us look good. I was on a plane not too long ago with Mr. Hyatt, and it was an experience, but he didn't tell me about this part. But it was good. And again, congratulations to all of you.
Mr. McNeil. Just to echo what Mr. McNeil has said, they had the awards nights last Thursday, and I sit there and I wanted to just, excuse me men, but I wanted to shout out to all the mothers for all the sacrifices and all the words and all the begging and pleading that you did to get your students to that point where they are seniors and they're ready to walk across that stage and graduate. I know it took a family effort, but somehow my mind says these women have done a doggone good job getting these hard-hit boys to finish high school, and they're getting awards and going on off to college. I applaud you, mothers and fathers, for what you've done for getting your children this far. You're launching them into the world, and it was a great night on Thursday night, and tonight has been another great night to see what, with the staff and everyone involved, what our children can do and what they are doing, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Now I have public comment. I only have one. Christian Miller.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Superintendent, members of the board. I first want to thank you for the years that you let me work here for you as a media literacy specialist. I operated the camera and as well as the supervisor of the team. I was supervisor for 2 years out of 5 of the years that I've worked on the team. This coming up 2 weeks from now, I'll be moving into college as a class of 2022 of Living Arts. I'll get my Bachelor of Fine Arts in Photography and my minor in Art History. I will go back after those years to further my education in art history to come back to the school district as an art teacher. This team has taught me a lot about life, a lot about how to handle things, a lot about how to talk to people in general, and how to work a team as the head of the team. And I look forward to coming back to seeing each and every one of you in the next years of life, and I look forward to seeing how much the team has progressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Christian. We have a bet, and it's not a monetary bet. She has to graduate, and when she does and she comes back to work here, I have to push her room back to make the arts room larger for her. And I get to dance on her desk when she comes back as a teacher. So 4 years from now, I'm going to be dancing. And it begins what Mr. Drigger said when we first started this, and that is, we've got to figure out a way to get all our kids to come back here. We've got to quit sending good people away, and we've got to figure out how to keep them here. So I don't know what happened in the past 5 years, but we need to know the ingredients that's got you want to come back. We need to know that. Thank you very much. Board items for discussion.
Next month?
Next month?
We don't have any on the agenda.
That's for this month or next month?
That's for tonight.
It would be for tonight. We can.
For tonight?
It's not on the agenda, but I know there's some things that probably need to be said, but it is not on the agenda.
Yeah, that's why I said it's the next month.
We meet Monday.
Yeah, we can do it Monday. We'll meet Monday. Whatever needs to be out, we'll get it in by Monday.
I'd like to add for something for next month, if that's okay. Is this his time to do that?
Well, we have a meeting Monday. You can have it Monday, or you can do next month.
What's the Monday? What's the Monday?
Okay.
Monday, it's the second reading.
Second reading budget.
Yeah, budget.
June 10th.
But if there's someone that needs to be on for Monday, we can make sure you're on there Monday, Ms. Lemmy.
Well, there's some data that I would like to get from our special needs teacher, she was up here, I can't. Ms. Barano. And I don't know if we can get that, by that time, but there's some numbers I like to get from her. And
okay. What are those numbers?
Just the number of students that's profoundly handicapped and that have extreme medical needs.
Okay.
And just how many, and because it's a concern of mine that I just like to look at those numbers, and once I get those, I can form what I think I need to do.
We can do that for you.
All right, thank you so much.
I'd like to add, for next month, discuss the policies, GCC, which we have on the agenda for tonight, and next month before we, and further discussion on that.
Okay. And we also will be presenting what you asked for 2 months ago, and that is the code of conduct last month.
Okay, good.
So you want GCC? It's going to be discussed tonight.
Okay. We'll discuss tonight.
Code of conduct will be discussed in July.
Okay.
Okay.
That'll be good.
Mr. Chair, we are into 6 months, and I want a workshop. We've just approved the budget, and we're asking questions about that budget and the fund balance and all those things, and making decisions without knowing the things that we need to do. And I know we talked about workshops, and I know we just got through the budget, but that's in order for us to make the right decisions to propel these great students. If you have the right information, then I can make better decisions. I wish you just proposed a workshop for the board to just talk about the budget.
Would it be better if we start the process of working on the budget now? If you understand what I'm saying, it's basically the same thing. We wait up until budget time to work on a budget as opposed to if we started right now. The good indication would be if we started talking about retirees now and the cost it would be and the different things of that way if we started that process now.
That's what that sounds like a great idea as well. It's the fund balance. You know, Mr. Coachman asked a question about the $90,000. Well, I know that at one point, at some time, Mr. Parks brought before the board how much we need in there, and Dr. McCord alluded to that tonight, but we need to just, as a board, that need to be cemented in our head that, okay, in order for us to be safe with our money, we need to know we need not go below this fund balance. And maybe the rest of the board may know that. I know a little bit of it, but it changes all the time because we took money out. So those are things I think that could benefit the decision making.
Yeah, I agree.
And anything else that we want to. I was at the the primary school and greeting the kids, and when I got in the car to leave, I saw a building that, boy, oh boy, what a little coat of paint would make it look so much better. Those are things that, and I appreciate you inviting me, and I was glad to be there. But these are little children, and we want to make things pretty for them, and we want to make it attractive. And so these are some things that, as a board, when we see things not critical, knowing it's a money issue, but it might maybe take $300 or $400 to just improve the paint around that building to make it look a little bit more attractive. I don't know how much it would cost, but these are things that I would like to see us just dwell into the doables that can be done fairly cheaply to still make it attractive so that our little children can appreciate a nice, good, colorful facility.
A pretty building. I think we can do that. If everybody would agree that we just start this process now. And it allows, like I said initially, it allows the public to know what we're doing and where we're headed. And it may change some minds about where people want to go the following year. They may want to just stay here. And I think that would be helpful.
Can I speak on that for a moment?
Sure.
We do have plans in the 2019-2020 year to bring to the board a 5-year capital improvement plan. That's one of the things that we talked about earlier in the year, getting that to the board so that we can plan adequately. This goes along with what you're suggesting in terms of planning how to spend. We currently do not have a plan in place. So when it's time for us to do repainting or retiling floors or large purchases, we have to have a plan in place. And you as a board will help us in prioritizing which projects are moved up, back, etc. So that is in the works for this next fiscal year.
Okay, thank you, sir. And this is just a reminder to the board that we do have a meeting on the 10th with the attorneys. We will be meeting on the 10th, starting at 3 o'clock, am I right? 3:30. 3:30, looking at attorneys, speaking with attorneys. It'll be here. 3:30. Yeah, 3:30 here. Monday. Monday. Yeah.
Okay, Monday coming, okay.
Yeah, Monday coming.
So we having a 3:30 with the attorneys, and then we having a budget meeting afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've already set that date in stone?
Pretty much. We've already sent basically our RFP out.
Did that come out to all the other board members?
Well, not an RFP, we sent a letter.
We sent a letter to some.
Interest letter.
An interest letter.
To all the firms.
To the firms that are.
School board lawyers.
With approval from the board, yes. It was sent to the board and it was requested by the board.
Yeah, I know that was.
And so we did make arrangements for that to take place on June 10th. And I think there are 4 firms that are coming in to present the services that they can provide to the district. And then you as a board will make a decision as to which firm can best represent the needs of the district.
Can we do that? Never mind.
We'll talk about it. We'll make it work. We'll make it work. Okay, superintendent's report.
I'm going to ask at this time for Dr. Sterling Harris to make his way to the front along with Ms. Tamadiz. Did the time change? No, sir. Is it 3? Okay, I'm sorry, I thought it was 3:30. 3, okay. 3 p.m. it is. I apologize.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
What Dr. Harris is passing out, for those of you in the audience, this is our recent third grade performance as it relates to the Read to Succeed state mandated testing. Dr. Harris.
Greetings, Chairman McNeil, members of the board. I come bringing to you the recent results of our Read to Succeed efforts for the 2019 school year. As you're aware, and in your packet, each year, the third graders, by way of legislation, have to pass an assessment tied to their SE Ready scores in order to be promoted. These scores are actually cut scores that are set by the State Department of Education under this legislation. Within these scores show the students who met the effort to be automatically promoted. These scores do not correlate to the scores that will come out later this summer in terms of students who were either met or not met on SE Ready, as these scores represent a cut score that aligns students to the bottom 5% of the students who would be not met in terms of the setting standard. So there will be students that have passed the Read to Succeed accomplishment to move on, but they may not be a student that later on you would see as far as a MET score in SE Ready, just to kind of clear up some confusion from last year. As you can see, you see the performance from our schools. As a district this year, we had 295 students take the test. We actually had 296 students, but we had one student that took the SC Alt. But 295 students that took the test. Out of the 295 students, we have 254 students that met the mark for passing the assessment in order to be promoted to the next grade. We have 41 students that did not meet the mark. Those 41 students will be required to attend our reading camp this summer. And throughout the duration of the reading camp, those students will have the opportunity to take a MAP assessment, and those students achieving the prerequisite score in the summer will have that opportunity to be able to move on to the next grade, either by way of scoring that MAP score or by way of their portfolio. As you can see, last year, we had 84% of our students pass this test on the first assessment. This year, we had a gain of 2.1%, as we had 86.1% of our students pass the test. As we look to the 2019-2020 school year, our goal as a district is that on this first assessment that we have 90% of our students pass the test. So even as we've made some gains, our charge from the superintendent is to move to be up at 90% or above next spring of students taking this test initially. At this time, I have Ms. Tama Dees, who is our director of pre-K 5 curriculum, and she's going to discuss some of the things we will be doing with these 41 students that did not pass this summer as a way of getting them ready for next year.
Thank you, Dr. Harris.
One of the many components of Read to Succeed is a third grade reading camp. Each district, as Dr. Harris said, must identify children who are not reading proficiently at the end of third grade, and we must offer a reading camp to get them where they need to be or to show growth. The cut score for the for SC Ready is 276, so that's what they're looking at. We will serve 60 students this summer in the reading camp. 41 of those are those children that did not meet that cut score, and 19 others that have been recommended by the principals and the teachers as needing an extra push. They may have met the score, but they may have failed one or more of their subjects that they need to come to the reading camp. They will be taught reading, writing, and research using the balanced literacy approach, and some of those components include read aloud, guided reading, shared reading, independent reading, and word study. They will also be instructed on writing and the research. Classroom sizes will be no more than 15 students in a class. We will be housed at the Adult Education Center this summer. We partner with the community with the Marion Wright Edelman Public Library, the Clemson 4-H program, and also Marlboro County Recreation Department. These three organizations will come in the afternoons and provide activities for our students after the reading instruction has taken place. I'm proud to say that we have 6 of our high school students that will serve as TAs and mentors for the program. We have 5 certified teachers and 3 reading coaches. Again, the goal is to provide intensive summer reading instruction to these students so that we can give them the best chance that we can to be successful in the 4th grade. They will take the MAP test at the end of the reading camp, and hopefully they'll meet 177 or above. That is from the MAP. But we're also looking for them to grow at least 2 levels with the Fontes and Fennell benchmark assessment, and that is going to be in the areas of literal comprehension, interpretive reading, and analytical reading. Those will be the 3 areas that we're going to focus on.
My understanding now, okay.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong,
Okay.
but, okay, right here I see Blenheim last year went from 75% of the student passes to 82% this year,
Yes, sir.
7.6% increase.
Yes.
So that's very good. And McCall was 90% and dropped down to 89%, 83%, which is negative 6.2.
Yes.
What's going on in Blenheim and what's going on in McCall? I mean, we got a rise and a spike. I mean, what made the difference in Blenheim to get the gain, and what made the difference in McCall? Law?
If I could, and the principals are here, but if I could just add a couple of things that need to be factored into, and some might say that it makes a difference, and some might say that it does not, but if you look at the total number of students tested, you have a larger margin for error, of course, when you have a smaller number. When you compare the two, it's not the same. It's comparing apples to apples. One school size triples that of another. And so the margin of error is smaller. I will say, and I was not here, so I can't speak to it with certainty, but last year at 90% for the number of students that were tested, I think is remarkable. And that is going to be the goal for all of our schools moving forward. But when you look at the total number of students that did not make that score, and that's 12 of 74, it's not comparing the same. And then there are a lot of factors that could go into why a school shows a decrease. But by and large, if you look at each of the schools, with the exception of 2, all show an increase. And I'll just jump right to BIS, which is our largest 3rd grade population. If you notice, once again, you have a student population that quadruples this time that of the smallest school. And so there's a difference that exists just in sheer numbers.
That's fine.
Mr. Jacobs.
I got a quick question.
I apologize.
Or you want to address that?
Well, I will share one thing. There are schools across the state that are identified as bimetal literacy schools because over a third of their students are not reading at the prescribed level for the state. Even with our fluctuation in some of our schools, as you can see, all of our schools far outweigh that percentage. So we are proud of all of our schools. As Dr. McCord said, there's a fluctuation in size, so sometimes there's a dip. But we do celebrate that all of our schools are not in that danger zone, as many of the schools across the state.
Okay, Mr. Smith.
How long will your reading camps be during the summer?
The camp will be from June 17th to July 25th, from 7:30 till 3, with the week of the 4th of July will be off. We are asking that parents leave their children to at least 1:30. That's when the intensive reading instruction stops, and then the activities begin, so they can pick them up at 1:30.
What type of activities are you speaking
Well, we're having the embryology coming in. They're going to hatch chicks. They'll have the bookmobile from the library come over. Recreation department will do different things with them to keep them active, those types of things.
So,
You said they will be retested?
Yes, sir.
At the end of the?
Yes, sir.
camp?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Using MAP.
okay. And when will that information be available for us to see?
July.
July?
Yes, sir. No, it
August.
won't.
August.
Say July, August.
Okay.
Anyone else?
So only a total.
Okay.
Mr. Driggers.
You can talk now? Okay. My question was, first, it says here in this, it says a student must be retained in the 3rd grade if the student fails to demonstrate reading proficiency. So we're offering, not requiring them to go to this summer reading camp. Is that what I'm hearing?
They can come and hopefully be promoted. If they don't come, they will be retained.
So if they don't come, they're going to be retained
Yes,
back
sir.
at that grade point.
It's a quasi-requirement. So in other words, parents are notified that in order to promote, you have to go through this program.
And so the parents understand that if they do not come, they will not move to the next level.
There are some good cause exemptions, and that may be if a child has an IEP, that type of thing we'll look at. But no, if they don't come, they don't pass.
And we do not provide them with transportation.
We do.
We do provide them with transportation.
Yes,
Okay.
to and from.
Okay.
And 2 meals.
Okay.
Okay, I got Ms. Fleming.
In previous years, what has been the success rate? Because you've done this in previous years. What has?
Last year, I don't think we only did that. Last year, I believe we ended up with less than 4, I want to say, students that were retained after the end of the summer because they build a portfolio. And so when they come through the camp, we're able to take their performance in the camp, their attendance, the willingness of the parents to help us to grow the students. Because obviously, it's our goal as educators that we wouldn't have to retain any child. We know retention has negative impacts, but we must make sure that we address the achievement gap, and we must make sure that we prepare students so when they enter the 4th grade, we're not putting them in a worse situation than they come. So we've had success with it last summer, and the first summer it was a pilot.
I remember that. Okay, the children come back to school in August, and by the time September, October rolls around, does not the teacher realize that this child is having some problems reading, and maybe intervention can start at that point? Are we doing that?
Yes, ma'am.
After the initial map is set, go ahead.
We have a year-long plan that we address with these students. We don't wait until the 3rd grade or until this assessment to determine that they're struggling reading. We actually go through and assess them through the 2nd grade and start to identify students that are having it. Then we have what are called parent nights, where we discuss the reading, the options and interventions that are offered during the school. Our principals actually have conferences with the parents. They send out letters quarterly to talk with the parents. Mid-year, we speak with the parents of students who are still in danger of not passing, because we offer benchmarks throughout the year. So it's not an I gotcha situation. It's very much endorsed and promoted by our superintendent that we make sure that parents know as we go along, and then as school leaders, that we are providing those interventions throughout the year, because as he said, our goal is to be at 90% or above. As you can see, we have a school that's at 96%, and it's our goal that one day we'll have every one of our schools in that area.
Mr. Coachman.
I was just going to say, I see a huge improvement, district-wide, and I think the students good. But I want to ask this question. So basically, we only have 41 students district-wide that have to attend summer school.
In 3rd grade.
In 3rd grade.
Yes, sir.
District-wide.
Yes, sir.
We call it summer reading camp. Now, an additional 19 are being recommended for additional services based on academic performance. It's not the same as the 41, but it does ensure another measure for schools to say and suggest to families that we think your child could benefit from this program.
And out of those 19, if they don't attend, it does not impact their promotion.
You know, I'm old school. Back in the day, we just called it summer school. you got to go to summer school.
We call it summer enrichment.
Call will be back in session before it's over. You gonna do it after school, or what are you gonna do?
Those parents their children will come up until McCall starts back to school. Of course, they can't come when they go back to school, and so then the school makes concessions to help them. But they will be retested in that time. Unfortunate, but.
Okay. You can do it after school.
All right, anyone else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we have some more from Ms. D. She's going to talk a little more about a topic that I mentioned earlier. Topic that Mr. Driggers mentioned earlier that I spoke of, and this is some of the initiatives coming down the pipe.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. McCord, Marlboro County School District has entered into a memorandum of agreement with Waterford Upstart, which is an innovative technology-assisted learning model that provides a research-based curriculum to our 4-year-old children. $360,000 has been set aside to provide all of our 4K students with a take-home laptop computer. The program will have internet access to any home that may not already have internet access, and it also will allow up to 4 logins per household. Because we know if we send a laptop computer home, there's siblings that are going to get on it, their parents may need to use it. So there'll be up to 4 logins. The only requirement is that the children will be expected to spend at least 20 minutes, 5 days a week on the ELA portion of the program. There's also math and science in the program, but there's no requirements for that. Of course, they can use it anytime they want to, but the requirement was with the ELA. This company will come in and they will hold parent meetings. It's turnkey, nothing on us or on the teachers really. I'll talk about the teachers in just a minute, but it's turnkey. They will come in, they will hold these meetings with the parents, they will get them to sign up for it. They will have an individual coach for each of these households so that they can monitor what their students are doing. If the children fall behind in the minutes, they'll call and ask them, is there something they can do to assist them so that they can reach those minutes. I'm also talking with Mr. George Coleman to see if we can make it a web-based program in case we have children falling behind. We think 20 minutes is not that long, but for some parents it is a long time. So we can have them do some of their time in the classroom, and we're working on that. All right. If the computer gets broken, they will overnight a new one immediately, no questions asked. They'll overnight it so the child will not be without a computer at all, and we just have to turn in the broken computer. Professional development will be provided for the teachers so that they can see the data that is being generated from this program, and to show them how they can use that data to differentiate their instruction in the classroom. And this program should start in August.
And once again, the program is for
Pre-K, SIRDEP, 4-year-old children.
And I just bring that up because it goes, it brings us closer to achieving our goal of being one-to-one for all students, one-to-one device for all students, which I think is incredible. Another thing that's mentioned by Ms. Dees is that 4 logins will be assessed to each household.
Yes, sir.
Which is going to be beneficial for not just the student,
right,
but for the family, as well as those students that have siblings currently enrolled in Marlboro County School District who also might possibly have a device. And so it's a win-win for the district, for the families, but most importantly, for the students involved. So thank you. And thank you to Ms. Dees and Ms. Quick for going to Columbia and ensuring that our district was a part of this Upstart program.
Mr. Driggers.
One quick question. How many students are we anticipating in the 4K group that would be, using this?
Yes, sir. We have 9 SIRDEP classes, 4K classes, that can hold 20 students apiece. So we've put in for 180.
Okay, sounds good.
I'm sorry. Did you say that if they didn't have internet access, they would pay for it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, anyone else? All right, thank you, Ms. Dees.
I'll ask Ms. Robinson to come to the front to give us a vacancy update. And she also is going to provide some information on the slide.
Connie's coming.
While we get the technical issues resolved, I'll let you go ahead and begin.
Good evening, Chairman McNeil, Dr. McCord, fellow board members. Tonight, I just wanted to share an update on our recruitment plan. I presented this a few months ago, just talking about the strategies we're using and where we wanted the HR department to go through the school year. This is a work in progress, but I just wanted to give you an update of the strategies that we're using in our department. I think we saw a perfect example of one of the most effective strategies tonight, and that's to grow your own with our current students and to get people to come back home to Marlboro. But currently, we're also doing employer referrals. We've attended several job fairs, South Carolina State University and Claflin College, Francis Marion University, Coastal Carolina, College of Charleston, and this year we also attended the Pennsylvania Expo. And as we get information from our entrance interviews, which will begin in a few weeks, we will determine what was most effective in our recruiting strategies. We've also used several Indeed campaigns, which is all electronic, and ZipRecruiter campaigns this year. Also, several of you attended our in-house job fair, which we hosted at Marlboro County High School this March, I believe. When I spoke to you at the beginning of the year, one of my goals and my vision was for our application portal to become electronic and for us to have our own portal instead of relying on the South Carolina State SARA portal. And I'm proud to say that we beat our deadline of January and actually launched this in December. So at any time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, an applicant can go to our web page, www.marlboro.k12.sc.us, and submit an application. By doing this, I lost the application, I didn't submit an application, I lost this page, that's going away in our office. Everything is electronic. If an applicant submits it, we have it. If a principal or director needs to see who has applied, they can log in from anywhere, anytime, to see who has submitted an application or whose application is in progress. And also they can recommend their candidate electronically. So there's a lot of accountability of who's not recommending, who's recommending, who's applied for a position. Since December, we have received 575 electronic applications directly to our website, which I think is an amazing number for Marlboro County. If you look at the big picture, while 106 looks like a big number, I want to explain that, but since January, the HR department has handled 32 in-district transfers or promotions. We've also handled 28 positions that were never filled from the 18-19 position, but that number is a little skewed because it includes 10 bus drivers and 4 contracted services. And then now we're in the process of handling 46 resignations. For the 2019-2020 year, as of the day, we have hired 31 applicants.
And of those 46 resignations that I spoke of, we have a process in our office now, which is part of an exit interview. We're starting gathering information about why our applicants are leaving or why our employees are leaving. And so I broke down the percentages. A big part is 41% retiring, 28% moving to another South Carolina district, and we are narrowing down which districts those are. There are 2 of our neighboring districts, so I would like to dig deeper into why they're picking those 2 districts. 17% career change. 4% said pay promotion, but that also could go into the moving to another South Carolina district. But like I said, I want to look at those 2 districts that we have identified are the 2 districts that most of them are transferring to, which are neighboring districts. And then 2% family obligations, 4% health reasons. Of our current vacancies, we have 32 FTEs that are certified. That may seem like a big number, but I believe, honestly, by the next board meeting, the end of the month, over half of those vacancies are already handled. We were just in the process of finishing the interviews and the recommendations. We do have some areas of concern. That's secondary math, secondary science. Chorus at the high school has become a hard position to fill. School psychologists and speech therapists. The speech therapists and school psychologists equal 4.5 positions just by itself. So if you take that away, to say that contracts just went out in May, I don't believe we're in a bad situation. And I will have to say that the principals have done an amazing job of funneling the referrals that we're getting, calling in applicants, having interviews. They will tell you that I will email them 3 a.m. in the morning with the applicant, and by the next morning when I wake up, they've already replied, I've already reached out, already scheduled an interview. So they have been very proactive and reactive to our applicants. And of those vacancies, 13 are classified vacancies, which with the exception of transportation, I do not believe we'll have any problem filling those vacancies. And you should have a list of the current vacancies in your packet.
It's probably 1 or 2. I have one question, and it's something that's been asked probably before. Is there a way that we could track our kids, who, like Christian, that are leaving now, we know they're going to school, they're going to college? Is there anything that we could put in place to kind of track them to see how they're going, to encourage, to start recruiting now, as opposed to waiting to their junior, senior year? Can we start now with some of our kids that are leaving to go to school?
That. I will look into that.
We actually have a teacher cadet program here at the high school, and they promote students and the district in returning. The teacher cadet program, for some of you that may not know, is a program that's taught here in the schools. Students can sign up for 2 years, I believe, and they receive all of the early education training that they possibly can. They go off to college, and the hope is that they come back and work here in Marlboro County.
I mean, like, you know, in the semester, a quick note from somebody saying, how did it go this semester? How did you do? Look forward for you coming back during the Christmas holiday, stop by and see me. Out of sight, out of mind, but as long as we keep some type of communication going with these kids, it may encourage them to want to come back here. And I think that's important to most people. If you're forgotten, then we want them. I actually want all of them to come back. Maybe I'm a little biased here, but I think we need to get all our good people back here. If you're home, you're subject to stay. No pun intended for anyone, but if you ain't here, you might not want to stay here.
I got one quick question. I can't remember the exact number, but you said going to the other counties. Was it 27 or something? 28?
28%.
Okay, 28, and you made a reference to our adjoining counties. Apparently, most of them are going to one of the adjoining counties. Out of that 28, you're
Darlington and
suspecting.
Chester. Darlington and Chester.
Okay,
Chesterfield.
Okay, so I'm assuming that those 28 possibly are driving living in Marlboro County, driving to these things, and you're going to be pursuing that and trying to find out why. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea, because I like to know why too. 'Cause if you're living here and you're going to drive there, you got to add that in. So I know money's an object, but you know
Right.
that would be good to find out. Appreciate you doing that.
Mr. Coachman?
Yes, you mentioned that we had 575 applicants,
Yes.
and we've hired 31 employees. You hired 31 from the 575?
Already. Now,
Already.
some of those people are also scheduled for interviews this coming week or already have been interviewed, and the principal or director may not have made the recommendation as of tonight.
So we haven't hired 31.
No, we have. We have already hired 31 people.
And just a question to hit on what Mr. Driggs said. Out of the 31, how many of those employees that you hired are local people who live in the county or were hired from within the county?
We'll have that information when we do our entrance interviews. This is coming from exit interviews. So this time in August, I'll present entrance interview data.
Okay, and these are teaching positions? That
It's a combination.
Combination. How about district staff, district, I don't know, whether we have a lot of openings or a few?
Vacancies 32 certified, and it's broken down by positions. And then in your packet, you also have the vacancy list in detail. And then 13 classified, which are also on here.
Right. And the reason why I'm asking this question is because if we can, and we have the opportunity, I think that if we can hire locally, we have the people that are in place and have the certification, I think we should look after our own. Maybe we can keep them here instead of losing them to the other district.
Okay.
And if I could comment on that, we also, which is not reflected, and Ms. Robinson can hopefully bring that information back sometime in August, we have a great number of employees that live outside of the district, who leave districts to enter into Marlboro County. And so it goes both ways in terms of, would it be better if we had more folks that lived here, that work here? Quite naturally, yes. But I don't want to say that we don't have individuals that come from outside of the district, that we have just as many coming from outside of the district. We probably have we have hired employees from Darlington, from Florence, from Chesterfield. So I can't tell you that it matches up evenly, but in some cases, we have been the benefactors of those that want to come to Marlboro County.
I understand that, and that's a good thing too. I just don't want any of our own to be overlooked when it comes to the process, because I think we have to have people here that may be overlooked. I just don't want to be overlooked, and maybe it makes people discouraged if they feel like they don't get opportunity to get a position they're here at home.
And I know it's not an easy thing to do, but like the 10 bus drivers, I mean, we need to try to figure out some way to enhance and make our bus drivers more likable, or bus driving more of a employment opportunity for people than we're doing, because we really need bus drivers. It sounds like
It's a tough position to fill, not just in small counties, but statewide and nationwide, because you're essentially talking about a part-time position that you're hoping someone will fill for a salary that's not commensurate with all that they have to endure. And so it's something that it's a phenomenon across the country. What can be done to make driving a bus more appealable? And I say that because, again, a bus driver has a CDL. A person with a CDL can quite naturally go out and drive an 18-wheeler. They can work for a Walmart. They can work for a logistical company that will allow, and with the new inland port, not but 30 minutes away, we stand the risk of losing even more qualified applicants. And so we can do all that we can, but that's a great opportunity or example for where we need to look to grow our own. Many of our bus drivers are from here, they live here, and we need to find more just like them.
And and I'm just shooting from the hip. Maybe something like we pay for your CDL training or whatever.
We can do that.
If you agree to work for us for 3 years or something of that nature. I'm just saying we need to work for some kind of incentive to make the folks want to step forward and do it. And that's all I'm saying. Just kind of look forward, if you would. I'd appreciate it.
We will. Thank you.
Mr. Smith.
I'm sorry.
In looking at number of vacancies that we have and looking at the types of teachers, English and Spanish and biology, and these are very critical positions. How do we foresee being able to fill all of these positions before the school year starts for 1920?
Boots on the ground. We will be looking any and everywhere. We are every day, 7 days a week. I am going through Sarah. Barbara McCall has done an excellent job recruiting candidates. We're running Indeed campaigns, which go to all 50 states. Several of our new applicants are not from South Carolina. So we are looking any and everywhere, 24/7. My office is fully dedicated to recruitment right now.
So we won't start the year off with a sub then?
That is not my plan. I came here during my interview proud to say that I had my vacancies filled in my former district, and I plan to have the same thing here. Now, I will say school psychologists and therapists kind of scares me a little bit. Other than math, I honestly believe we can fill our vacancies. So I'm a little worried about the math, just because math is a problem in every district. But the other positions, like we have a very good lead on an out-of-state candidate for the science, for the Spanish. I believe, hopefully, by next Monday, we will be bringing that recommendation to you. So we have everybody's hands on deck with vacancies this year.
Thank you.
And if I can, the goal is to not start the year with substitutes. This past year, we started the year with, I believe, 20-plus substitutes.
Yeah, 22, we had 35 vacancies.
35 vacancies. So we have implemented a system that will allow us to have certain levels of success. And I say that because I don't want you to take away from that, Reverend Smith, that we will not start the year with substitutes. We're making every effort to not, but there are some high critical need areas that are difficult to fill. We just received word today that we're going to be a part of the consortium once again with the South Carolina Retention and Recruiting Initiative, and so we'll receive additional monies that we hope to incentivize for newcomers to the district. But again, it's a small district type situation that is creating havoc across the state.
And I do want to say, these numbers change constantly. So we can walk in tomorrow and every position is filled. And then come August, we could get a resignation the week before school.
Right.
So that could happen. So even if we have a great plan, the day before school, something could happen.
Any other questions for Ms. Fleming?
I'll be glad when a day comes when we will get a committee, like we did with the coach, a committee to get an English teacher or a math teacher. It is much more important to me that we have a good math teacher and a good English and technology teacher. We had a committee to do that. That was fine, but that is not my priority, and that's just.
We visited a school district, one of our neighboring districts, and that was one of the strategies that principal shared with our leadership team. So that is a strategy that can be and already has been implemented in some schools. But each school has their own strategy for interviewing. But I know that some schools have already formed teams to interview for their in-house applicants. So what you just said was actually a recommendation from one of the principals that we interviewed, that we went to visit, that she brings in the department head and the members of that department along with herself to interview to find the best candidate, and also so that candidate will understand the expectations of that department. So I think that's a wonderful idea and already being implemented.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Thank you, Ms. Roberts.
You're welcome.
I'm going to ask for West Park to come to the front. I need my glasses. The words are getting small.
Well, good evening. You have before you first reading of the budget for fiscal year 2019-2020. The budget is balanced at $34,818,102. There is no tax increase, but $90,000 in fund balance is included as a source of funding to balance the budget. The district is continuing to experience loss of student population and weighted pupil units, and will need to continue to be diligent in controlling cost and making cuts to maintain this and future budgets. The district is fortunate to have passed a $10 million bond referendum, which allows for various capital expenditures for school renovations, playground equipment, and provides for safety and security improvements at all district locations. All first-year teachers will receive a minimum salary of $36,000. Teacher salary increases will range between 4% and 9%. The average teacher salary increase will be approximately 6.75%. All other staff will receive a 4% increase. Budget includes a step increase as well. Retired classroom teachers will be paid on a bachelor's in 25 years. Other retirees will be paid on 14 years on a bachelor's degree, if applicable to the respective schedule. Budgeted personnel is based on district staffing standards, which provide for smaller class sizes in comparison to state standards. The revenues and expenditures are presented in summary form. The salary and supplemental schedules will be included in this document for second reading. My recommendation here is authorize the adoption of first reading of the general fund budget for fiscal year 2019-2020 in the amount of $34,818,102. Any questions?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Your second sentence here, it says there is no tax increase, but $90,000 in fund. I just want to make sure that that has no tax implications.
That has no tax implications.
When you say no tax increase and then put but, it kind of gets you a little worried.
Right, right. Yes, sir.
We're hoping we don't have to use the 90,000. That's the hope. Mr. Jiggs?
That's me. I want that same question. When we talked this over, we said we're going to do the 90,000 in fund balance, and we were under the assumption, or at least I was, and I think the rest of the board was also, that we were going to have money left over. So even though we're allotting 90,000, we're going to be to allocate it back into the fund balance. So we're not really removing any fund balance. We're going to use the money that we're saving to allocate back for it.
The hope is that we'll have adequate increase in fund balance in the current fiscal year that then will just be applied to the next.
And
Yes,
we
sir.
also use, along with that, the 3-year trend data
That's
that shows
correct.
that we've been coming in at around 55,000 a year. So
Yes, sir.
worst case scenario, if we just meet the average, we would be looking at about a $40,000 takeaway, $35,000 to $40,000 takeaway. That's worst case scenario.
Worst case.
Any other questions for Mr. Park?
Of course, the recommendation requires your authorization in order to pass first reading. Of course, the second reading is 2 readings of the budget are required for adoption.
And just so I'm understanding, when we approve this, if there is a question comes up, it can still be presented at the second reading and we can go from there.
Yes, sir.
That was my understanding. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the recommendation that has been presented to us on the first reading for the budget for fiscal year 2019-2020.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the recommendation to authorize the adoption of the first reading of the general fund budget for fiscal year 2019 and 2020 in the amount of $34,818,102. Are you ready for questions? Are you ready to vote? All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. Opposes?
Three.
We have 3 opposes, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it has been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As the financial report as of May 28th, 2019, attached, please find a budget report by object for general fund operations with expenditures to date. At May 28th, 2019, the district's cash and investment balances on hand for the 4 primary operating accounts were $9,806,203. As of that same date, the district had expended $26,168,323 of a $32,818,572 budget, or 79.74% of budget year to date. Any questions regarding the report?
We have how many months still left?
We have 1 month left, June, and of course, one of the issues in June is the fact that we do have 4 checks for 190-day employees, which include teachers. So that is a larger month in terms of expenditures as a result of that.
Teachers and employees exiting the district.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. But we have roughly 26% of the budget still left.
Have 20.
20%.
20.26. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll call for Ms. Robinson to come up and, if you would, turn your attention to policy GCC, professional staff leave.
Yeah. Good evening once again, Chairman McNeil, Dr. McCord, fellow board members. I would like to bring your attention to policy GCC. As was mentioned earlier, for the 2019-2020 school year, attendance will be a focus of the district, not only student attendance, but also employee attendance. Student achievement will be a priority next year. Just like we are requiring our students to come to school, we also need for our employees to come to school. Employee absenteeism affects student achievement. It also affects the services that we can provide our employees if our office staff is not at work. We have gone through the policy and made several recommendations. If you follow along with me, you'll see the yellow highlights. The first one is under the 6/personal leave. Our current policy says that on the first day of the fiscal year, July 1st, we advance the entire leave for that fiscal year. The new policy employees will accumulate leave. So at the end of every month that the employee works, they will earn 1.25 days, and it's broken down by the number of contract days, how many days an employee can earn during the year. Also, on the bottom of that page, there's a stipulation in there that says once an employee exhausts the earnable amount of leave earned in a fiscal year, for example, if a 12-month contract employee exhausts 15 days in 1 year, they will be required to have a conference either with their principal or HR to see if there's an issue. We might have to look at FMLA or just to understand why that employee is burning so many days. On page 2, a supervisor may approve only up to 3 consecutive days of sick or /personal leave. We will set up the system because we're moving to frontline, so our attendance will be fully automated, that an employee can only enter 3 consecutive days and a building level principal or supervisor can only approve up to 3 consecutive days. On the 4th day, a notification will be sent to my office, which will then prompt the principal to have a conversation as to why that employee is out more than 3 days. It does not mean that they can't be, but a conversation has to be held for that day to be entered for the 4th day. It does not mean that they can't do it, but that a conversation will have to be held. Also, upon the 4th consecutive day, we may also require, if they're saying that they are sick, that they submit a doctor's note for that. On page 3, last year, I believe, you adopted a bereavement policy, which was a little confusing, and we had a few complications with it. So what we're recommending for next year is on July 1st, everyone's leave balance will have 6 bereavement days, but an employee cannot touch those days. So if, for example, a spouse dies, what the employee will have to do is notify their leave clerk that they have a death in the family that qualifies in the definition. Then they will submit that to the district office attendance clerk, and those days will come out of the 6 days that will not affect their leave balance. So they will have 6 days, but they can't just use them. They have to turn in the appropriate documentation. Then it will come off of that amount, and they're not accruable. So you don't earn 6 plus 6 plus 6. Every year, starting July 1st, you get 6 on your check, and then you can, if you're eligible, you can use those days if they fit the definition that the board had already approved, but they don't carry over to the next year. And then the next July 1st, you'll get 6. It'll start off with 6. So some people may never use their 6 days. Some people may use all 6 if they meet the definition of what a bereavement day is. If they go over 6, they still can take the days. They just won't have any bereavement days. It'll go into their sick balance, which is our current policy already.
Quick question for you. Back up one page for me. And you say not to exceed 91 days for absence due to continuing illness or disability. Is that 91 working or 91 calendar days?
91 calendar days.
And it might be a good idea to slap that in there. Just so no one would be misled by it. 91 calendar days.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Coachman?
So this means that they will have to accumulate days as they work?
On page 1?
Yes.
That's correct. So if you, for example, if you, brand new employee, show up in August, our current policy says when you show up at work the first day, we grant you, let's say it's a teacher, 9 months, they get 11.25 days, never working a single day. So they actually can come in first day of school and then miss the 2nd day, 3rd day, 4th day. We want to come away from that policy and say you have to earn your leave. You work 30 days at the end of the month, or you don't actually work 30 days in August, but at the end of August, you'll get 1.25. Then the next 30 days, you'll get another, you'll accumulate, you'll accrue the leave.
What would happen if a teacher would start to work in August and get sick with them being there a week and have to be out of work a week?
That they would be docked for that. There's always, they could appeal it to the superintendent or to the HR office, and we would take it by a case-by-case basis.
And so everything highlighted here in yellow is what we want to change in this policy?
Yes, sir.
And so again, let me just speak to that a little bit more to make sure for clarity's sake. For extreme circumstances, there is an appeal process before an employee would lose pay. I do want to also state that in 82 or 83 districts in the state, a large majority, I won't say all, have policies in place very similar, if not exactly the same. I can tell you I've never been in a district where you are advanced the days before you actually work. Every agency that I've worked for, you earn the days moving forward. And that protects the district as well as ensures that employees
come in and come to work. If you take a 240-day employee, for an example, they could come in technically with 2 weeks vacation or 3 weeks vacation. I don't know what the vacation rate is, but they could work 2 days and decide to take the next 3 weeks off and still receive pay. Or they could work a few days and terminate the contract and make a request that we pay them out for their vacation days. And so earning your time is more in line than granting time for no work performed, if that makes sense.
Well, that's earning your time as you work is in conjunction with the way the state offers annual leave and
Correct.
sick leave.
Correct.
But I do have a question as to why would you need a supervisor's approval for my personal leave if I take over 3 days? What's the rationale behind that?
I can speak directly to that. For a principal, and I'm just speaking from my time as a principal, we need staff in place for critical times. So if you have, I'm just going to say, a big game day. I don't know what the big games are around here, but in some places it's Clemson versus Carolina. If you have a large population of your staff or percentage of your staff that says, we're going to the game, we're going to leave Thursday, be out Thursday and Friday, that puts the school at a disadvantage. You're asking a principal to find substitutes for a time period that is going to be hard to find substitutes. And so we kind of give that to the principals to help monitor their staff, because unfortunately you do have staff that take off every home game. Some will take off just before the holiday. You know, a person can come up and say, Thanksgiving, we're out the week of Thanksgiving. I need to be out 5 days before Thanksgiving. Well, that's a crucial time. And every day missed, and I said earlier, we want attendance to be paramount for not just students, but for staff as well. And so allowing the principal the opportunity to be a part of that decision-making process is going to help us.
Mr. Ranch. Is it being taken advantage of, the way the contract is now?
Yes. It really becomes an issue when an employee leaves the district and they thought they had already, let's say they leave in December, and they thought they had already earned all their sick leave and they've already used it. They actually end up owing the district because they didn't earn those days. We go back and then prorate it, which is confusing to an employee if you've already given it to them on a check.
Mr. Coach.
Why would we just changed the policy for bereavement last year? Why would we tie the bereavement policy in with the legal absence, FMLA policy?
This was your policy already. We're just going through and simplifying everything that we've had issues with this year, and bereavement was one of the things that we had issues with.
What was the issue with bereavement?
Employees sometimes didn't understand that once they went past the amount of days they had, they still were going to get docked. It would go into their sick leave balance, which if they didn't have, they would have to lose pay. But by having it on their check, you have 6 days up front. They will see it as they take the days, and they will also have to produce the documentation for that to be a bereavement day. That will not come from go into their sick leave balance. Right now, it's all kind of lumped together. By doing it this way, you will have a separate category that says bereavement. Everybody will start off with 6 days.
So sick and personal is as earned, and bereavement is 6 days.
You will start off July 1st with 6 days. That does not mean you can automatically use those six days, and you don't accumulate them. So next year, you can't say, I didn't take 6 from 2019, 2020, so 2020, 2021, you won't have 12 days. You'll start back at 6.
And if I can speak on that just for a moment, when you ask, has it been an issue? We have had a couple of situations, and by all means, let me just say this with the most gentlest of ways. We can't control when death occurs. We want family members to be with family when situations arise that call for families to be together. Where it has become an issue is when an employee has used all of their days. So we do have the mindset that exists, not just here, every place I've been, that an employee says, well, I have the days, I have to use them. Well, no, you don't have to use them. They're there for you to use if needed. But we have employees who have 100 days that they have not used, and we have employees that have been here 10 years and have 0 days. So, you have to try to find a way to make sure that you balance it out for everyone. So if there's death that occurs, we respectfully want to do everything that we can to assist the families, but we want everyone to know up front what the policy requirements are.
Well, I understand what you're saying, and I have no problem, excuse me, with sick time. But when I see the word personal time, that's my time. That's my time. And I should be able to use my personal time at my discretion.
Okay, that's on page 5, which we're defining personal time will still come out of your sick leave balance. So we're saying that an employee 5 times.
Say that again. Personal time comes out of
your sick leave balance. So, for example, let's go back to a first-year teacher. They can earn a first-year teacher. They can earn 11.25 days. 5 of those 11.25 days can be used as personal days. They can say they're going to a baseball game, basketball game.
If approved by the principal.
So I'm understanding now.
They can't do 3 consecutive. So for example, an employee can't come in and say, I want to take 5 days off with no explanation, no approval from a principal. The system will not let them put in more than 3 days. The 4th day will have to be approved of anything, whether it's sick, personal, bereavement, anything past 3 days, we'll have to have a conversation.
So the
consecutive.
The leave pool only consists of sick time. Am I correct? If I'm hearing that personal time comes out of sick time, I'm not earning both.
Everything is called sick. So at the beginning of the year, first-year teacher, they can earn up to 11.25 days. Sick/personal leave. Of those 11.25 days.
Let me speak on this for a moment. The current policy that exists, and I understand exactly what you're saying, and I'm familiar with it being different. Our current policy does not differentiate between the two. It's one pool. I'm familiar with you earn sick time and you earn you're granted personal leave. So you're automatically granted 3 days is what I'm familiar with, personal leave each year. And that's for employees that are 190 and above. You get 3 personal leave days. Here in the district, they count them in the same pool. I would like for us to pull it out differently, but that, of course, is up for you as a board to decide. Because again, I do think there's some advantage to employees being able to take a sick day or a personal day out of their sick leave bank. So it just depends on what the situation is. What we're trying to do is make sure that we don't have egregious situations where employees place schools at severe disadvantages during peak times.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. I'm an ex-state employee, and when I worked for the state, I earned 15 days of sick leave per year. I earned 30 days of annual leave, which is my personal leave, that I could take at my discretion up until 10 days without an approval. And I'm trying to find out, do you have just one pool or you have 2 different pools of time that we're talking about?
12-month employees do have annual leave, but not
Not
9 through 11 months. They do not have that second pool that you're talking about. Only 12-month employees do.
12 month, 12-month employees are beyond teacher contracts.
Mr. Norton.
I'll give you a history lesson. There used to be a number of sick days and number of personal days. They were separate.
Yeah.
There were. What happened was, when people needed personal leave and they passed the 5 personal leave days, they took a sick day. It did not deter people from either using a personal day for a sick day or a sick day for a personal day. And so what happened at that point in the history was we just put them together and gave the total. So personal, sick. That's how you got personal and sick together, right, Wes? And so that was, we just said, well, there's no good in people being deceitful, just give it to them in sick and personal. And that's where it came from.
Okay.
But I would like to say, when is their first check now given, when they come to work?
August 15th for school.
Okay, so they're already ahead of the game, correct?
They're ahead of that.
They're already ahead of the game pay-wise. Why can't we let them be 1 1/4 ahead with their sick leave? Give it to them at the first of the month, just 1 1/4, not the 11th. The first day they come, they get a paycheck, they get the 1 1/4. If they leave too early, you've got to go back and refigure what they owe you anyway. So why not let's give it to them in advance like you do Social Security? If you die, you're gonna have to send it back. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but it works. And I'd like to, it would save a lot of work on the administrative part to let them have at least 1 1/4. Most of your employees have got some accumulated leave anyway. You're just talking pretty much.
They'll get 1 1/4. That will be reflected in the first check. They will have 1 1/4 in the first check for a new employee.
Okay, well then.
And then each month, right, they
game.
would. Each month they'll earn the next 1 1/4, the next 1
Well, if that
1/4.
was the case, then
It
if
is.
you get 1 1/4 on your first check, you should be able to get sick the first month and not have to go
Right.
through a process. That makes sense.
And that's all we're doing. We're asking to have it earned.
Yeah,
1
I'm all for it as long as
It starts.
it starts. Maybe at the same time the paycheck starts.
I saw a hand.
Yeah, I understand what the issue is, and it's like maybe a few people taking advantage of the situation, but to punish everybody for what a few is doing, that's what it seemed like to me. Because if I was working and I saw this policy, you know, I would get pretty hot about it, because it's like we're taking dates and changing the policy. We just set a policy in place to help get bereavement pay, and now you're gonna take it back this year and go a step farther.
No, we're not taking back bereavement.
I understand you're not, but you're putting it in the category over here. I mean, we just fought to get this data in place. after years.
Bereavement is the same. We're identifying. In other words, it's not reflected currently on the check, and so that's the only difference. You'll be able to see it.
Yeah.
So there's no change with that as it relates to bereavement, and I don't want it to look like punishment, because it's not designed to punish. It's designed to help everyone be held accountable. And I agree with what you said. You have, I can't say by and large it's happening every day in the district, but we have employees, unfortunately, that will, just be gone for days at a time.
Well, can we just do something else instead of mess with the policy? Come up with something that when you have some that abusing it, maybe we can put a clause in it and leave the policy as it is. And for those that are taking advantage of it, maybe we can we can,
Well, that's what this in effect does.
yeah, but this deal is too much right here. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I mean,
I don't want anyone to think that we're just denying. It's just going to require conversations.
Yeah.
So it's not to say that 5 days won't be approved. It's just going to be layers of approval. First, you have to go to your principal, and he or she can either approve it or deny it.
That's
Now,
what I'm
I
saying.
am going to see that the principal approved 5 days, and there may be a conversation, because at the same time, we monitor the number of substitutes and how much we're spending on substitutes. So that will be a conversation. So the principal can approve it or deny it.
Or deny it.
If they deny it, the appeal process, the employee can come to HR, we'll have the same conversation. I can either approve it or deny it.
and see, that's the hard part. You know, you need a day off right here, right now. And I go to the principal deny me.
No, not one day.
8 day or a couple of days.
Not a couple of days.
Consecutive.
Okay,
Four
fourth day.
maybe emergency. I may have somebody dead up north New York.
And all that takes is a conversation. You talk to the
It
principal.
takes the conversation, but I still could get denied. You could deny me if you was the principal, right?
The
could
principal
deny me,
could
though,
deny
right?
it, and then the employee
But
could
what I'm
appeal
saying,
it to
you could
HR.
deny me, right?
Correct.
If you want to.
Yes.
See, so you just took my personal days that I had in my hands, and my personal days are now in your hands, whether you having a bad day or not.
Well, let me speak to that and I don't want to go point counterpoint, but can I use for an example again, when we talk about a conversation being held with the principal, it's simply so that the principal is not left at a disadvantage as it relates to how education is going to be distributed in the building. So if a person makes a split-second decision to get up and go somewhere for 5 days, as a principal, I like to know before the morning of that you're going to be gone 5 days, because there are some essential questions I'm going to ask. One, do we have lesson plans available for the students that are going to be left behind? Do we have, or have we any issues that have been unresolved as relates with the students in your classroom? As a principal, I like to have an opportunity to have a conversation with someone prior to them just exiting the building. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean a principal, because all principals know their staff. And so that's for the principal. I don't think I have enough faith in the principals that we have employed in the district where they would not be vindictive. They would not hold it over a person's head. Well, I just don't like you. You just can't go. I doubt very seriously that'll happen with the staff that we have in place. I understand your point, but the policy that we're trying to create is just going to give a level of consistency and accountability that does not exist right now.
I think Nick kind of did it, but for me, it's just a little bit too far.
I have a question.
I think there again, I understand what you were saying, and I understand the concern of the board. These are things that in a workshop, you could give us the pros and cons. You could name names, name dates, and examples. Then maybe you could convince us, or you could not convince us. But in this type of setting, when we're making this decision, with just getting this information, and I'm a paper person, and I can find when I can look on there and I can grasp it better. I think this board, we've made some decisions in a meeting without the proper information. And I recall the bereavement policy last year. I remember something about it. But to sit down and just say, okay, we can get one-on-one, 4 or 5, 7, 9 of us in a board meeting, and they bring each department head in, and you tell us, you convince me how this is good, how it's going to save the district money, and how we're still going to get the school covered, that the principal will not be left hanging. Because I know in the business world, it works that way. You're going to get so many days, and regardless of what happened, you're not only going to get so many. Schools a little differently, but we need to, before we just arbitrarily adopt this or whatever, refuse it, more information is needed so you can convince me this is the best thing for this district. And not that you haven't, but, and it's,
This is a first, so that means we do have an opportunity to sit down and talk about it. This isn't a done deal tonight. It gives us an opportunity. This is just brought before us. We have time now to go back and to discuss it in a different setting.
And I apologize, I just got a little passionate about it. It's not folks that too, because, you know, we represent these people, we represent this whole entire district, and we have to look at the well-being for all of our teachers, all our students, and all the district staff too. But we just want to make sure if we change this policy, it's going to be the right thing, and maybe we can go back and look at it and tweak something.
We have time to do that.
But
it's not
as
done
it stands
tonight.
right here is more
okay, now when are we
confusing.
going to have an opportunity before the next reading comes? So that when we have that,
We can discuss that. We can have a meeting, because that's next month. So we have a whole
All
month.
right, then let's
We have a
do
month
that.
before we do this again.
Okay,
So we have
that-
plenty of time to discuss it.
Right.
Mr. Brown.
You know, you mentioned earlier that a lot of the reasoning for this was the fact that when people leave the district, they get money that they're not really worked for, they hadn't earned. Why not keep it like it was and then just put a clause in there stating that if you leave the district, then your days are prorated if you haven't actually earned it?
That is how it is, but that means my office then has to track down people and contact them, please bring a check in.
That's where the problem
Right. See,
Yeah, so while I should be recruiting, I'm playing banker for the district and saying, you owe us $900, you owe us $1,500. What is a payment plan you want to set up? Because they didn't understand that when that leave balance said 15 days, they didn't have 15 days to burn before December. They had only earned maybe half of those days.
But if they leave the district, wouldn't they have a check in the hole?
Not with the storm, they did not.
No, sir. And again, I just want to, and it's for you to look at and review, and as Chairman Neal said, you have every right to make edits, but this is not, I don't want this to be viewed, we don't want this to be viewed as something against employees. It's not against employees. It's just an opportunity for everyone, and when I say everyone, the entire district, to have a standardized set of rules governing how we look at attendance, how leave is accrued. So it's not something that's against, but by all means, take your time and look through it, and I work at the will of the board. If you want something changed, or if you don't want it at all, that's for you to vote up or down.
Let's go ahead and plan to do a workshop to discuss this, and because it's not going to be settled tonight anyway.
Would it be possible? Well, we need to let our
Yes, I
teachers and all administrators know that if you work on attendance, we won't bother this policy. But
say that again?
If we work on the attendance, we won't bother this policy, but if the attendance is being abused.
And see, this administrators are handicapped right now with the current policy, and I don't want to speak for administrators. The principals are here. They have absolutely nothing that they can say if a person says. I'll give you an example if I can. You mentioned examples, and definitely will not call names because that would be a violation of a person's rights. But a principal contacted us at some point about an employee who had 100+ days, and they wanted to know, here's the question: can I sit out now and be paid for the rest of the year? I'm not coming back. I just don't want to come back, but I want to be paid for the rest of the year because I have these days. Now, as this policy currently stands, a person could do that. They could call in every day. They could call in every day until they use up that 100+ days.
but then you put the district and you gotta find someone.
This new policy does that. When you mention a clause, the clause would be something like a conversation must be held with your immediate supervisor, i.e. the principal, i.e. a department head, a staff person. There has to be some conversation
to find out what's the reason or rationale behind you being out for 100 consecutive days.
This policy has been in place since '94 and was revised in 2000, and then it was revised again in 2006.
Which is 13 years ago.
Right.
Okay, Mr. Driggers.
Quick question. Well, I got a couple of quick questions. I've been waiting. Did you change anything on the bereavement leave policy? Because I didn't recognize it if you did. What did you change on it?
It's going to be on the check just 6 days up front.
Yeah, nothing's
The
changed.
6 working days for bereavement are going to be up front. That was already set in goal. They're going to get 6 days no matter what.
Correct.
So, I mean, I'm not following any questions on that one. All right, and the other one was, you're giving 12 days per year to a 190-day employee, plus the 6 days of bereavement, correct?
But
it's not included in the 12, it's extra.
It's extra.
So if someone dies, they get the 6 days. If no one dies, they get the 12 days.
Correct.
And this only applies to a new employee, because if someone is coming back, they may have accumulated leave sitting out here over and over and over of different numbers, correct?
So they could take 12 days for
It's only a
bereavement.
new employee or someone that has abused or used every ounce of leave that they have, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're only talking about these new people getting this.
Yeah.
Now, the other people that's already there, let's just say they got 30 days of leave built up. Then they start getting it just like everybody else, the day and a quarter from that on, instead of getting the 12 days to them. So they may not be in a bind because they may have 30 days already sitting back they're gonna take, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
It just adds to it.
Okay, I'm just making sure I understand what we're doing here.
We can
Thank
stay
you.
here all night, or we can
I just wanna
decide,
make sure I know what we're
or
talking
we can
about.
decide that we can have this workshop and complete this. I mean, which one? We can do the workshop right here, or we can wait and have a workshop. Which one?
It's completely.
I'm
for me.
asking, are we gonna continue this conversation, or can we go forward and do a workshop? At a different time? That's all I need to know.
I don't have a problem doing a workshop, but if I have questions, I need answers
But that's what-
without doing a workshop.
Yeah, that's true.
But we're gonna end up doing a workshop anyway, so let's just do them now.
Don't answer my question.
Any other questions? All right.
I do want to say this if I can. Whether we have a workshop or not, all of you have a right to make edits to this. So next board meeting, it won't be a second reading. It will essentially be a first reading. So I want to make sure I get that out, because we could have a workshop, but you have to tell us what you want included in that workshop, which is the same thing that you would do if you make your edits. If I can, I like to ask that you make your edits
Right.
and bring those back.
At next
Then
board
we
meeting.
move forward again.
All right, that'll work. I agree with that. So basically, next month, you want us to bring back what we can add to the change and make
Or
it
if we
better.
could do it Monday, so that the fiscal year, we have
I
a
was gonna
policy
bring
in
that up too,
place.
but
That's too short of a time.
just let it go.
Monday's fine with me. I don't know what the rest of the board.
It's your pleasure.
Bringing back your edits Monday is what you're asking, right?
If that is the pleasure of the board.
That's what you're asking us. Can we do that, correct? Monday would be fine with me. How about the rest of them?
I won't be here.
Okay.
You can send it in.
Time training.
Okay.
So that's why I would prefer we do it next month at the regular board meeting. But if the board chooses to go ahead Monday night, then
Somebody else, there's only two of us, just me and Michael, the only one said anything. I mean, is Monday good or bad, or just not? Speak up.
Okay.
It's fine with me.
Okay, that's 1, 2, 3.
Monday's fine with me.
That's fine.
Monday? Monday?
Yeah, I guess so.
Monday? Ms. Fleming?
Yeah, Monday's fine.
Monday will be good. We'll do it Monday night. All right.
So when we come Monday, we to review this policy. Any questions we have, or any additions or deletions we should have present that to you? Is that how we?
Or if I may ask, if you want more, I think you said you wanted more data. If you need that prior to Monday, if you would please share that with Dr. McCord or Chairman McNeil so that we will have time to gather that to bring to you Monday.
More data is good because I can make better decisions with more data. And I guess the way I know you can't use who has been abusing their policy, but if you can say there was a 5% abuse of our present policy, or 20% abuse,
How about doing this, because it would be difficult to call it abuse. I don't want to align someone.
Right, yeah.
How about if we bring the best scenario I can think of is just bring, with names redacted, the daily report.
Okay.
So that you can see how many employees have, how many absences for the year and the reasons.
Right, okay, good enough.
And we can do that school by school, which won't take long.
We can do that.
You can see that for yourself.
And then, that sounds good. I think I can work with that, because then if I see that really looks, this is not good we don't think this person, if they're taking that much time off, they may need to go and take some family medical leave, but I think data is good. I can make better decisions with that.
We can have that for Monday. And any other questions or information you request?
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you think that one was something, wait until you get this next one. I'm going to ask Margaret Quick to come up. This is updates and revision for our school wellness policy. Let me start by saying, again, this is all in compliance with USDA federal guidelines. The changes that are being sought after actually put us in line, whereas right now we are in violation. And so I want to preface that, but it's going to be a doozy. Ms. Quick.
Good evening, Chairman McNeil, members of the board, and Dr. McCord. According to the Eat Smart, Move More movement of South Carolina, 39% of children are overweight and or obese. For the last 20 years, obesity has increased and affecting more and more children daily. The increase is due to poor diet habits, poor physical activity levels, and in some cases, tobacco usage. Fortunately, Marlboro County School District has realized the need for change. We also realize that students who have healthier eating patterns are more likely to perform better academically. We are striving to create a culture of healthy eating and a safe place for physical activities in efforts to stomp out obesity and other chronic diseases. Therefore, in efforts to align our current policy with the Childhood, National, and WIC Reauthorization Act of 2004, we have updated our school wellness policy. The policy is included in your board packet. Changes are reflected in red and or crossed through. If you turn to page 1, we have added in here, students will have an opportunity to drink water during meals. Before, we did not have that in the policy, so that just aligns with the federal USDA guidelines to give students the opportunity to drink water instead of milk during lunch.
You're talking about bottled water?
Just water.
Bottled water.
Yes.
Yes, sir. I mean, right now they have water fountains.
The second page, we've added that we shall comply with the USDA dietary guidelines, which includes competitive foods that are served a la carte, classroom snacks, and snacks from the vending machine. All students in the dining area during food service hours should comply with the U.S. dietary lines. Once again, that's a la carte and vending machines. The district will limit celebrations that involve food. Each party should include no more than one food or beverage that does not meet the standards for food and beverage sold individually. The district will disseminate a list of healthy party ideas to parents and teachers. School-sponsored events such as athletic events, dances, or performances, the food and beverages offered or sold at these should comply and meet the USDA standards guidelines.
Well, how are you gonna do that? You gonna give them a list of what they could sell at the football game, or a list of what they can have at the banquet, a banquet for the football?
Yes.
And give them a list of what they can serve? Okay.
Yes.
You mean football game too?
Yes.
Could you give us an idea of something that they serve at the football game now that won't be allowed?
Yeah.
Let me say this,
Just out of curiosity.
and that again, I think there is a gray area as it relates to extracurricular activity. But an example would be chili dog with, I mean, again, I said this would be a doozy, but when you stop and you think about, as you mentioned earlier, the data reflects Marlboro County last in those things that we want to be first, and first in those things that we want to be last. We're at or near the top of the chart when it comes to childhood obesity, adult obesity. We're at or near the top when it comes to diabetes. We're at or near the top when it comes to those illnesses associated with an unhealthy lifestyle, primarily associated with the intake of foods. So this is not a popular trend. I can tell you I've been through this one before in other districts. It is very doable, but it has to have the support of all stakeholders involved. But at a minimum, what we as a school district, and I'll just sum this up so Ms. Quick won't have to read it all, we as a school district would adopt to not contribute to what is already occurring off of our campuses. So at a minimum, we would have healthy and nutritional snacks in our vending machines. That would be, if you go out to our snack, I won't point to our snack machines because it's on camera. I've been to schools in other districts where snack machines have unhealthy snacks. Snickers bars, M&Ms, I forget those little hot things, what are they called, Takis, and you can go on and on with the things that we currently allow, things that we currently allow that we know contribute to some of these illnesses that are associated with the poor quality of health care for students. If you recall, I sent something to you a few months back and said that I'd like to begin a healthy initiative for employees of the district, which we're going to talk about next month. I think that gives us a competitive edge up. You know, if we work on exemplifying healthy lifestyles, healthy eating, healthy habits, it trickles down to kids. It doesn't mean you can't have a birthday party. It just means we have to find alternatives to the cupcakes and the little, what are those little things, ding dongs and all of those things that parents like to bring in. Kids are going to eat it. If you put it in front of them, they're going to eat it. And so here's the mindset or philosophy about that has to change. Let's put something healthy in front of them.
How about
they're going
chicken?
to eat that too.
How about chicken?
Well, we currently don't serve fried chicken the way you and I
ain't
like
said fried chicken. I just said chicken. I eat chicken any kind of baked.
Baked chicken? Yeah, I don't eat baked chicken, but you can serve baked chicken. You just can't.
He probably
not fried.
Michael, he probably don't like pork rinds either.
Yeah.
Just teasing.
Snicker bar doesn't change the personality like the commercial say.
That's TV. That's designed for sale. And again, as I said, just to sum it up, it's just making us more responsible. We'll have healthy nutritional signage up across the district, which we currently don't have, with facts that talk about where we are and what our goals are. We also will incorporate with our nursing programs BMI counts for students. We have to do a better job of what we put out for kids.
Sounds great.
It sounds good. Sounds good.
What's
Except
that?
at the football game now.
Now, again, there's
Leave
a
the
gray
football
area
game alone.
on football.
You
games.
gotta cheat sometimes. now.
One thing I can say, for instance, at the football game, we could make the suggestion of buying 100% beef hot dogs and using whole wheat bread instead of the things that we're using now. So there are things. I myself like beef hot dogs. I mean,
Whole wheat bread.
But, you know, here's the reality of it. And again, like I said, I've been in this situation before. We don't know until we try. So for an example, if we put a vegan hot dog out, there are some that will purchase it. We don't know until we actually, I had someone today say, how about something for those that are diabetic? If it's not known that we're contributing or could possibly be contributing to a person's illness, then we are not doing our due diligence. And so we're just updating our policy to be consistent with what's been done or what's been required all along.
It's not bad.
We're on the same page.
Yeah, we're just teasing a little bit.
You'll say that until the parents come beating my door down, but he won't let us, I mean, the principal won't let us bring cupcakes, you know?
Let's take that, Mr. North.
Isn't the bottom line,
Right.
what you've done here is what's required by law?
Yes, you gotta do it. You gotta do it. You have no choice. You gotta do it. When my children was in this part of the building, which was they was in second or third or fourth grade at that time, and I remember having several heated discussions with Mr. Ash about the ice cream machine, and this was back in the 70s, early 80s, and it was such a conflict. I mean, school's about education. It's about education, about everything, not just reading, writing, and arithmetic. When we look at the statistics for the PD, what the health issues we have in the hospital, we want better for our children. We really want better for our, and we want them to be healthy. Give them healthy choices. And if this is mandated by law, I'm for this policy. Now, you're gonna have parents, it's a choice, the parents can do what they want. But if we do the law, then we've done our due diligence. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Smith.
I'd like to offer a motion that we adopt this school wellness policy for the first reading.
I second.
I second it too, why I'm not hungry.
It's moved and second that we adopt the first reading of the updated school wellness code, ADF, for adoption. Are you ready for question?
No move.
All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. Opposed is the same.
And I had it backwards. I thought that would be the fight.
No, we see how
Thank you, Ms. Quick.
We ready to get home and eat.
We see how
Rice cakes.
Children ain't gonna even know what chicken is, or chicken nuggets, chicken strips,
You have your
chicken, all that. They don't know what a
board
bone
calendar
is in a chicken.
that you have to look at.
They never see a bone in a chicken.
Calendar. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
It's at the bottom. The board meeting calendar.
So last page.
Does everyone have an opportunity to look over that calendar for next year for our board meeting?
Looks good to me right now.
I think the only issue was the first week in, I know it was the first week in July that was a problem. That's been changed.
And Labor Day.
And Labor Day. And both of those dates have been changed. Am I right?
Correct.
All right. Do we have any problems with this calendar?
No.
It's one that we can accept. We can live with. No, I don't think that's needs approval.
Looks good.
It's good. Okay.
Well, I think you do have to approve the calendar.
We do have to approve this.
I make a motion, Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the calendar, or the board calendar as presented.
Okay.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the board calendar for the coming year 2019, 2020. Are you ready for question? Are you ready to vote? All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. It's unanimous. Opposes the same. It is unanimous.
Executive session.
Okay, do I have a motion to go into executive session or not?
No move, Mr. Chair.
Do we need it?
Are we moving to go in or out of executive
Do we need to go?
Yes.
Do we need to go?
Yes. We
I
have,
make a motion that we go into executive session, discuss whatever Dr. McCoy got.
second.
It's been moved and seconded. We're going to executive session. Let it all be known by raising your right hand. Opposed is the same as unanimous. We are now into executive session.
Either just,
I'd like to oppose, but I didn't think they'd do it good.
I don't think so.
Before you, Madam.